Dan Illman, Matt Bernier taking a look at the feature race at Saratoga on Friday. It's race number 9. It's the $100,000 Lucky Coin Stakes at 5.5 furlongs on the turf. It's a race, it's a card you can bet with your very own DRF Bets account. Sign up at drf.com/bet, get 10 times the bonus. Here's the feel for the Lucky Coin. Again, some salty turf sprinters in here, Matt. Let's begin with the number 3, Rocket Heat. This is a backclasser with plenty of early speed, and he popped last time out to the tune of a 96 Beyer speed figure. Now, he was claimed away from one of the hottest owner-trainer combinations at Saratoga, Glorious Empire's connections. How's he going to do for his new connections?
Well, we'll find out. I mean, like you say, he really popped in that N2X most recently, and we know on his best day what he's capable of. I guess the tough thing for me in a spot like this, in a race like this, yes, I understand speed is very, very important going this 5.5 furlong turf dash, but I think there's a ton of speed signed on, especially down to the inside, and I kind of look at it and go, are they all just going to burn one another out?
That's a very good point, because as we see from this Timeform US pace projector, Timeform US disagrees with your pace assessment. They got a blue bar up there indicating that this race will favor horses on or near the early lead. And to be honest, I kind of agree with you on this one, because I know Bold Thunder, the number 2. He used to have speed. Now, he hasn't been close in his last 2 races. Is it a sign that the 8-year-old's getting a little long in the tooth?
It's entirely possible, and I suppose if that's how the pace projector and the folks at Timeform are viewing it, then you know what, all of a sudden Rocket Heat becomes a heck of a lot more attractive if you think that he's going to be able to clear off to the front end. I just know the only way that Bold Thunder wins races is to go to the front end, and I know the only way that Spring to the Sky wins races is to go to the front end and breaking from down on the inside 2 posts. I just kind of feel like they have no choice but to send out of there.
We'll get back to Bold Thunder in a little bit. Spring to the Sky is 9 years old. He's a really cool horse. He hasn't won in a long time. You got to go all the way back to July of 2016. But as you've said, on his best day, he can easily win a race like this. But has he lost his speed as he's gotten older? Last 3 starts, hasn't been close to the lead.
Yeah, that's kind of the concern, I suppose. I'm a little bit more concerned about his speed, maybe, as opposed to the horse breaking just to the outside. The fact that Spring to the Sky in each of the past 3 has not been remotely close to the front end, when his best races have come when he's out there dictating terms on the front end. If you think that he can somehow get back to that and show that early speed, then I think, 1, that's the best way that he can win, and also, 2, it compromises some of the other speeds. If you don't think he can do it anymore, then I have to be honest, I think you just kind of draw a line through him and pretend he's not even in the race.
Let's take a look at the morning line favorite. That's the 8 Pocket Change going out for the red-hot Jason Service. We've got a positive formulator fact for Service. Past 5 years, 4-year-olds and up on turf, off a 45 to 60-day layoff. He's winning a third of the time out of a 145 race sample and a $2.49 ROI, and this horse you can argue is dirtied up. They ran him in the Jaipur, a tough spot in only his 4th lifetime start. I thought he was in some traffic most of the way. He only got beaten a length by Disco Partner, one of the better turf sprinters in the country. And last time out, I know he didn't break very well, but you can't take his speed away from him, and that's what they did in a race that was just as live as could be.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Voodoo Song a number of times. He's a Grade 1 winner now, and you had some of the big names in there projected, earned a 99 Beyer. The 4th place finisher was the next style winner with a 98. I think it was an instance where, as poorly as he broke, I wonder if it was a combination of 2 things. It was a combination of they didn't want to go up there recognizing that Voodoo Song was the one that was there, and you know how talented and gutsy he is, and also it was his first time stretching out to a route of ground, and I realized it was still only a 1-turn configuration, but a mile is a mile. You get him back to 5.5 furlongs. I don't think he's run a bad race in any one of his 5, and I'm including that Forbidden Apple because he never really got a true opportunity. He is obviously the horse to beat in this spot, breaking from the far outside post. Should be able to take up a beautiful sort of stalking trip beneath the Rat Ortiz. I guess the question comes down to what kind of price do you want to take on him, because he's going to be very, very short.
Now, I'm not sure I want to take very, very short. He's good. He's going to work out a good trip, but there are some good horses in this race. He has an edge, but I'm not sure it's this gigantic edge that I'd want to take something to 5. Axtell scratched out of a race at Delaware earlier in the week to run here. He is slowly improving from a Beyer speed figure standpoint, and he was simply overmatched in the Grade 1 Highlander last time out. He showed some big speed in that spot. Maybe he's the horse that tries to go after Rocket Heat early.
Yeah, possible. If he's sent along, then understandable. That just adds into the sort of pace dynamics. You brought up the Highlander, very, very live thus far. The 3rd place finisher in 85, and the 6th and 8th place finishers next out winners with 99 and 86 buyers respectively. My only concern with this horse is from a figure standpoint, he doesn't have a race through 28 lifetime starts that's fast enough to beat all of these.
The number 5 is Ready for Rye. We know that Ready for Rye has the tactical speed to sit a good trip in this spot, but I wonder at this point in his career if he's just better on a wet main track. He's 4 for 5 on a wet main track. On turf, he's okay. He's 2 for 10. On fast dirt, he's 1 for 14. Again, he can fall into a trip, but I think he's underachieved a bit in 2018.
Oh, I think that's fair, but I also wonder if it's a product of, is he just getting old now? He's 6 years old, and perhaps his best races are well in the past. And I agree with you. At this point, he can still fire on a wet main track, but I just kind of look at him and say, I've always been a fan, but I wonder if Father Time is starting to take over.
Big Rock loves Saratoga, and maybe getting back to this track is going to spark some serious improvement, because I couldn't find the excuse last time out going 6 furlongs at Belmont. I know he went sub 22, but if you remember, at that point in time at Belmont, the fractions were just ridiculous. It was a rock-hard turf course. Timeform US has that fraction actually color-coded blue for slow, and this horse just could not stay with the likes of Tom Belaine and a nice horse in White Flag.
Yeah, White Flag next out winner with a 90 buyer. You brought it up. The recent form here is just so poor. It's hard for me to just sit back and say I'm going to take some sort of a middling price. If you believe just his Saratoga form at face value, then sure, he's interesting, but I'm passing.
Getting back to Bold Thunder real quick, there's a barn change. He's with Gary Siaka, and Siaka has not had good luck over the past 3 years with older horses on turf, to say the least. 1 for 95, a 26-cent ROI. But if you like Bold Thunder, if you think he's going to regain his speed, and we know he does have back class, let's take this formulator fact at face value. This horse might be 15 to 1.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We always talk about it with these formulator facts. We're not trying to knock a 30 to 1 shot. What good does that do? We understand they're 30 to 1 for a reason. You want to find the negatives about a favorite and vice versa. If you can find a positive for a longer price, that's good. Don't hold that formulator fact against Bold Thunder.
The 7 is Extravagant Kid. He's our top pick in this race, and I like that Brendan Walsh got him back on turf last time out, because this horse kind of made his name sprinting on turf at Gulfstream. I know it wasn't the championship meeting, but I think he got his confidence up with some good performances, and these connections spent a lot of money on this horse via the claim box. They claimed him for 75, and it took him 3 starts to get back on turf. I thought he did well last time out. I think he has enough speed to find a spot just off the early leaders. He'll be attacking on the turn.
Yeah, agreed. I thought that run down at Ellis Park was good. He was up there prompting the pace, basically 2-3 path between a couple of horses. One of the other speeds stuck around with them, and unfortunately each of them got run down by a horse from off the pace. Thought it was a good race considering it was his first start since the middle of June. You've seen what he's capable of on the turf in these turf sprints. I think second off the bench you get a forward move. My only concern is I agree with you that he's going to be relatively close to the pace or he can sit just off of it. The problem is if those inside 3 do go and they line up, you can't help but be hung about 4 or 5 paths wide. And I do wonder if at the end of the day, 5.5 furlongs is a little bit of ground loss going to go a long way when we get down to the wire.
Well, we'll just have to trust Jose Ortiz. He's a guy we can trust in that situation to make a decision on the fly. Give me numbers in the lucky coin.
7836.
7381 for me in the $100,000 lucky coin. Your feature race at Saratoga on Friday. You can play it with a DRF Bets account. Sign up, grab 10 times the bonus at drf.com/bet. Approximate post time for the lucky coin stakes, 5:40 Eastern on Friday afternoon at the Spa. Best of luck.